What's up, guys? Cliff and Chandra here from Not Gospel Studios. We are back in the studio. Lots of stuff has happened this week. The world's going crazier and crazier every week, it feels like. Yeah. You think so, Chandra? Mm-hmm. Chandra's just ready to talk. All right, let's do some talking.
Here's what I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
Okay, so Trump is supposed to be indicted tomorrow.
Yes.
And I want to know about his mugshot. Because he's supposed to get a mugshot taken. They said they're not going to put him in cuffs, but they're going to do a mugshot. Do you think Trump is practicing it, or do you think he knows it's never going to happen? Do you think he's going to squirrel out of that somehow?
I have no idea.
If he does get a mugshot, liberals are going to go nuts with it. They're going to love it.
Oh, yeah. Here's my honest opinion about Trump. Okay, so I don't think there are any politicians that are bucking the system too much like they used to. Because if you think about the...
What do you mean by bucking the system?
Okay, so you think about the assassinations in America's past of like big, high-profile figures like JFK, like all these...
The government did it, yeah.
Yes. So I am a conspiracy theorist on those as well. I believe that they were about to expose some things that the prime players did not want exposed, and so therefore they got rid of them.
I agree. I didn't know you thought that too.
Yes. Well, there's a speech where JFK says it's time for the American public to know, like basically peel the veil back and be like what government is doing, know how their country is run. And it was like days later he's assassinated.
Yeah. So
the success of Obama and Biden and Trump remaining an entire term, those presidents, and for Obama 2 presidents, lets me know that it wasn't just because the people hated JFK that he was assassinated. That's a dumb theory. It had to be like an inside job. Because there's lots of people that hate these presidents. Biden's been hated hardcore. Mm-hmm. Trump was hated, obviously. I mean, people thought it was the end of the world. So many people didn't like Obama, and he got 2 full terms. If presidents were assassinated because a lot of the populace didn't like them, so some angry, deranged citizen went out and took a shot at them, that would have already happened to those guys. It didn't. And we know there are angry, deranged citizens because shootings are still happening. This content is brought to you by NotGospelStudios.com. If you want to support the channel but don't know how, just click on over to NotGospelStudios.com, follow and subscribe to us on all of our listening platforms, and then click the store icon where you can purchase Not Gospel Studios merch, including custom spray art. If you'd like your own custom spray art painting, just click the custom spray art icon, and as you're checking out, in the additional notes section, tell us what you want on your painting. We'll create your painting, post the video of it, and you can watch the entire process of how your painting was created while you're waiting for your custom artwork to arrive at your door. As always, thank you guys so much for listening and watching and supporting, and keep being awesome, because that's how God made you.
So what are you saying?
What I'm saying is, what I believe happened is JFK and all of these different presidents that went up there and these political figures that went out and shook the system a little bit, they got took out. Mm-hmm. And all the other politicians are like... Are you saying
this is their version of taking Trump out?
No, well, kind of, but here's why. I'm like, all the other guys said, okay, we'll play ball. We'll start playing more ball. We'll start going along with the flow more. Yeah, maybe we'll get a little crazy here or there, but we'll play ball. We'll go with the flow. And you don't see any assassinations, right? Trump gets on the scene. Mm-hmm. Now, the easy thing to do with Trump is assassinate him, right? If he was really that far out of the system. Mm-hmm. This lets me feel like, and lets me know that it's really just money running the country, because I feel like Trump's plugged in enough into the system, the money system that runs the country, that they're like, okay, he's plugged in enough, we can't just assassinate him and get rid of him. He's not doing necessarily exactly what we want, so here's how we're going to get rid of him. Mm-hmm. So what that says to me is, if you're like a Christian who's looking for like this big moral compass for your political leaders, which I've told you is junk, don't do that. This is a reminder that Trump still plays the game. He plays their game enough that they're not willing just to get rid of him.
So do you think he's going to have a mugshot?
I don't know about that. I think the whole indictment is hilarious. It's sad, but it's hilarious because it's like this final flailing attempt. Please, Lord in heaven, let us not have Orange Man back. But I have not heard anything about this mugshot that you're talking about. I have no clue.
Well, just knowing his ego.
I would like his mugshot to be a caricature. like a cartoon caricature
Yeah.
drawing. Like that's his mugshot. That'd be funnier.
Just knowing his ego, I would think he's at least practicing at the very least.
Or well, what if he's allowed to submit his own?
That would be funny.
I took these glamour shots. You'll never find it. There's never been a better mugshot in the history of all mugshots. I
That's
think
pretty funny.
The thing is, well, the deal is support for Trump swelled after he got indicted. Mm-hmm. The only way that they're going to keep him from having another record-breaking number of Americans voting for him, I'm not going to say keep him from winning, but the only way they're going to keep him from breaking another record and having even more Americans, 82 million Americans voting for him, is if he's not allowed to run by running a trial.
They're trying really hard.
Yeah, that's what this is. I know what this is. We all know what this is. I mean, you got George Soros, an appointed judge or whatever that is endorsed by George Soros. This is the one who's going to do the indictment on Trump. He's been
What
proven
about
corrupt over and
DeSantis
over.
saying he wouldn't help with the arraignment? Like he wouldn't extradite him or anything like that.
He wouldn't extradite Trump?
Yeah.
Of course, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because
That's wild.
but you know why? That to me seals the deal that DeSantis may run. If they lock Trump up where he's unable to run because he's in this ongoing criminal trial, even if he gets acquitted, if he's on an ongoing criminal trial during the election, he can't run. So DeSantis has been kind of playing ball on both sides. People love him, but he's not. There's some things Trump has done that he's been like, kind of silent on. The fact that he won't help with the arraignment, the fact that he won't help extradite Trump, that gets all those Trumpers being like, okay, if this does go south, DeSantis might be our guy. And he is somebody who could unify the Republican Party, I feel like. I mean, I really feel like, to a point where they're like, we'd rather vote for him than lose.
You know,
know what I
I
mean?
hear a lot of political stuff about DeSantis, like things he's done with schools and things, but I don't know anything about his personal life.
Me neither.
Like with Trump, it's like all personal. Like,
Well, that's the difference in having a celebrity who turns into a politician and having a politician who
Yeah.
now is sort of a celebrity. That's different. When it's flip-flopped, the celebrity, you kind of know all their personal stuff because the tabloids are all about it. The tabloids don't care about the politicians until they step out of line and go crazy, until they wind up having a laptop with a bunch of crack cocaine on it from hookers. And oh, wait, they didn't care about that one for a while either.
like we were going to talk about the school shooting in Tennessee. I don't know a whole lot about it, but did you see where I think it was Melissa Joan Hart was there and she was helping like her little kids out of the school? You know, the Clarissa
see that.
Explains It All girl?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
So yeah, I don't mind. We can talk about that. I think it's worth talking about the shooting. Primarily, I think one of the reasons it's worth talking about, other than the fact that everybody's talking about it, one of the reasons it's worth talking about is because the horrid response from Washington. It's unreal. It's actually
I haven't watched the
incredibly
news
dumb.
on it. I don't know anything hardly.
So here's what happens. You have a member of the LGBTQ trans community come into this Christian school and
it
kill.
was a Christian school?
To my knowledge, it was a private school, like a private school, like a Christian school. And allegedly, she was in there targeting Christians, teachers that she'd had before. You have a member of the LGBTQ trans community who goes in and shoots up a school, kills 3 innocent children. You do have a terrific response from the police when they get on scene. They took out that shooter in less than 2 minutes from the time they breached the doors. And I watched the chest cam footage. It's so, like, police have a job that's unreal because every corner they turn from that body cam footage, you think they're going to be there pointing a gun at them, and it's going to happen. It's very nerve-wracking. But Washington responds with, it's clear that trans people are under attack. And so Saturday was Trans Visibility Day. They made April Fools, they made it the national holiday as Trans Visibility Day.
That seems like a misstep on their part.
It's the absolute dumbest thing I've ever heard. Here was the
well, imagine if
steps.
Trump had made Trans Day April Fool's Day. I'm just saying that seems like a
It's a
misstep.
little
Like,
yes.
yeah.
So, but besides that, imagine. Okay, so this is what happens. This trans person goes in and shoots up a school, murders innocent children. Then they say, well, it was because Tennessee made rules and made laws, passed laws that you couldn't do trans-affirming care on minors. And because of those laws, clearly trans youth are under attack. That's why this person did that. So now we're going to make the Saturday after that assault, we're going to make that Trans Visibility Day, a national trans holiday. Imagine, go down this road. Imagine if
That's crazy.
Some white dude walked into a school, shot up a bunch of kids, and then the White House said, clearly white dudes are under attack right now. We're going to make this Saturday White Awareness Day and celebrate white people after they shot up a bunch of kids. They would literally just mob and take out everybody in the White House if they did that.
Well, after 9/11, where the Twin Towers were, didn't they put up some kind of big Muslim statue?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Maybe.
It was some big, huge thing.
Well, and here's the part of the White House response that I can't, that doesn't sit with me, that I can't handle, other than all that stuff, because that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Make a trans awareness holiday. It's like, no, how about we focus on the mental health of people?
And it wasn't just, they just so happened to be doing that at the same time. They did it in response.
Yes.
That is insane.
Yeah.
People don't want their freedoms to be taken. They want us to fight for their freedoms. And so it is shameful, it is disturbing, and our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack right now.
That's the dumbest response. I'm sorry. I get as fired up about this as you do on abortion, on the abortion issue. It tears me up because it's so simple. The politicians don't want our kids safe. They don't.
Well, I mean, to someone like you who grew up in a home with guns, like your family is hunters and stuff, guns are not the problem. It's the people that's the problem.
This is the best analogy I've ever heard for this kind of idea. There's a bunch of sheep, right? Sheep out in a field. Wolf comes in and eats a sheep. And the sheep look and see the wolf. And they say, the teeth killed the sheep. Okay. So then all the sheep go and remove all of their teeth for their own safety.
That's so stupid.
It's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this is. A stupid a gun-free zone is not going to keep somebody with evil on their mind from doing evil in a school. What you should have is, for every 100 kids you have in a school, an armed, trained police professional there at the school, monitoring the school all day long. You should have our kids just as safe as our money, more safe than our money. You should have our kids more safe than our politicians. We want to keep the politicians safe, we guard them with guns.
Yep.
Even if you want to have mental health screenings, all that's fine. I'm down with that. Allowing gun ownership, that you can have real world scenario after real world scenario about how that keeps people safe. If you just even made a statement that in Tennessee, 50% of our teachers, without nobody knowing, have been trained and are concealed carry, and nobody knows who they are, that school's never getting an active shooter. Never. I mean, are you serious? That kid don't want to go in there and get shot in 2 seconds because they come in with evil on their mind. Defunding the police doesn't work to stop the crime. How about you give more funding to police and make them create a whole and expand their division for schools to where they have more armed professionals, well-trained, mentally health screened, all that stuff at the schools, keeping our kids safe.
I agree.
It aggravates this thing has
I see this.
Yes. I'm sorry that I get so fired up about this, but it's because it shows very clearly that the politicians are for these ideas of gun control, aren't for the safety of our children. They want to continue to use the graves of our children to further their ideology, to further their political agenda.
Yep.
It's awful. And the same thing with abortion, like when they're wanting to stand on the graves of unborn minority babies, black babies. More black babies are being aborted in New York than are being born. Like, they want to stand on top of that to promote their agenda. I get all worked up about it, but it just kills me. I mentioned to you how there's this push right now for Christian parents to homeschool their kids. Several families in my area have decided to join homeschool co-ops.
Okay, when you say push, by who? Who's doing the pushing?
On social media, like Christian social medias and stuff like that, they'll say, they'll take a reason like this. They'll take a school shooting, and where the left political leaders and media takes this shooting and runs with it to say we need more gun control. every conservative Christian person, influencer that I see, takes the shooting and says, just another reason to homeschool your kids.
Okay, but you sound like you're being critical of people who want to homeschool.
Well, I don't want to sound like that. No. What I'm saying is now you're at a crossroads where I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day who they decided to join a homeschool co-op for their daughter. The tricky part is now if we have Christian kids raised in a Christian home, now we're pulling all of the light out of the school. You're getting all of the positive influence out of the school. You're removing all of the Christian kids out of the school, and they're just hopeless. They're in there with no Christian influence in their school at all. Just free-range beef. Just, you know what I mean?
I don't think you can put the burden of spreading Christianity on 7-year-olds.
Well, and they said that. She said, our children aren't meant to be warriors for Christ at that age out there in a battlefield where they could be assaulted and killed. And I affirm all of that. But still, my heart goes out to kids that never have a Christian friend growing up in public school. It's like you almost doom them to never being exposed to genuine faith, genuine, compassionate, Christ-like love. And that hurts me. But it also, I 100% agree with my friend who said, I'm going to co-op with my kids because they're not meant to be little warriors and put their lives at jeopardy.
It's hard for me to say a lot on the subject because I don't have children. I always feel like parents are like, well, who are you to say anything? But if I did have children, they wouldn't be in public school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I told my friend, I said, I don't think either one is the correct answer. I said, but I know there's one wrong answer. Like, if you want to take your kids homeschool and even a Christian co-op where they're learning like a faith-based education, fantastic. I think it's awesome. You want to put them in public school, but you want to be active in their education. And when people they have questions, they come home, they're bringing materials that you don't like, you're going to the school board and you're saying, hey, my kid ain't learning this crap. Like, that's ideological. That's not educational. That's a great way to do it. Sign up. Like, I think that's fantastic. The one wrong way to do is just supposedly be a Christian and send your kids to school blindly because it's free daycare.
That's true.
It's like, your kids are going to come out of there.
If you send your kids to public school, you have to be involved somehow.
Yes, especially if you're a believer, especially in this day and age, the way it is. 100%.
Okay, well, you being a dad with 3 children in grade school, well, 2 of them were, does it worry you sending them out?
I pray over my kids so I don't worry, but I also am probably going to start doing my own sort of
like, here's what you do if something bad happens
for my children. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm secretly hoping deep down that our local legislation will start putting more armed guards in schools, which they are. There's an armed police officer at every one of the schools, and our schools are smaller. They're easier to guard. And we have programs like Watchdogs where at any day at those schools, several fathers are there monitoring. If they see somebody that coming in the yard in a trench coat or whatever, they're going to go get somebody.
I think that's good.
Yes. Unfortunately, they're not armed, these fathers.
Why
you know
not?
what I'm saying? Because, you're not allowed. It's a gun-free zone, Chandra. You can't have a gun on campus unless you're a police officer.
I thought they were like sitting a little off campus.
No. Like
can they park across the street?
They're walking
with a
through
gun?
the halls. They're walking in the recess. I've done it before.
Gotcha.
I've watched dog before. I may or may not have had my concealed carry weapon on at the time.
We just won't talk
about that. I'm just saying I've done it before.
Yeah.
And I think those programs do help, so I don't necessarily worry too much about my children's safety in their school system. But I constantly wrestle with the idea of just homeschooling my kids. Why expose them to that potential threat? And then I feel for all the other kids out there that aren't going to have kids like mine who when a teacher tells them this about trans and this about Black Lives Matter and this about that, my kid says, well, my dad's told me that blah, 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 and this works for us. If there's not some
first off, you think that's what's happening?
100%. They are 100%. They are leaking their ideology through. Even I already know it. Even in schools like ours that don't profess that at all. That Black Lives Matter /
No, I was saying, do you think that's necessarily your kids are gonna be like, well, my dad says?
Yes. Yeah. Either that or they're just saying, well, that's not the way we do it. Because they'll ask me the questions and I'll say, well, what do you think? Just the other day, they watched Naked and Afraid. on TV, and there's this dude.
And they saw some naked, afraid people.
And there's a dude who had a blurred out situations down here and blurred out chesticles in the chestal region with a full beard because he's out there for several days. Cannot.
Wait, there was a guy with
It's a guy.
chesticles?
It was a trans woman.
So it was a girl.
So it's a guy trying to transition into a girl.
Oh, and he grew boobies.
He's on hormones and he's grown
Gotcha.
chestals or chesticles, and so the boys are looking at it like, is that a boy or a girl? And I said, Liam Griffin, that is a boy, a biological boy who was born a boy who believes and feels like a girl and believes he's a girl. So he's trying to do things to look more like a girl, but he's definitely a biological boy. And I asked them, I said, can you be a girl? And he's like, no. He's like, makes no sense, right? He's like, no. I'm like, of course not. Like, how?
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, well, okay. Ta-da!
Well, did you go any further into the how with him? Like, you can take medicine and grow boobies. You can
My
chop
dad,
off your wiener.
unfortunately, my 85-year-old dad did. He's like, yeah, and he's got the doctors giving him these hormones, already her pop. And I'm like, Dad, my son is 9. Like, he don't know about hormones. Like, what are you trying to do here? But yeah, so my dad did all of that for me. And I said, yes, there are medicines now that can make people look and seem and feel and present more like a girl or a boy. I said, but they are what they are. And he's like, yeah. People may call that transphobic or whatever at this point. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like we're seeing it with the sports. What's the story we were talking about earlier about the powerlifter guy who...
Oh, yeah.
Was it a stunt or is he really transitioning?
No, for sure it was a stunt. There was a partially transitioned weightlifter guy who's been winning all these girl competitions. So this guy who knew he could beat the trans guy, because in Canada there's no like, you don't have to prove it in any sort of way. So he was able to just walk in and go, I'm a girl, and compete. So he just whooped up on the trans guy.
Male Canadian powerlifter breaks women's bench press record in protest against trans inclusion policy.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, it's a Canada. You can't even... Canada... Bless their hearts. Bless your hearts, Canadians, because you've got issues. Anyways.
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
Hey, it's called an impression. I dabble as a stand-up comic.
But I saw that trans powerlifter, and he was so mad and like, this shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, so a male Canadian powerlifting coach broke the Alberta women's bench press record over the weekend in an act of protest against the presiding organization's extremely lenient trans inclusion policy. Avi Silverberg, who does not identify as transgender, participated in the 84-plus kilogram category at the Canadian Powerlifting Union's Heroes Classic. Silverberg bested transgender-identifying male competitor Ann Andrews, Andres, or I'm not sure how that, Andes. Anyways, Ann A. watched him from the audience. She watched this guy crush their record from the audience. This powerlifting coach, I think he bench pressed 370 like it was nothing. Just raw and crushed it by 100 pounds. I was like, okay, I win. This is amazing. I affirm all of this. I think it's great for this coach to do this.
Yeah. What do you know about women's basketball?
I don't know many of the players.
Well, I mean, I was just wondering, are their goals shorter?
I'm not sure. If they're not shorter, I know to my knowledge, there's not like really any slam dunks in women's basketball.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about.
So I'm wondering if their goals are regulation, if they're just 10-foot goals.
Because I would just make them shorter so the girls could dunk. That would be hilarious. Maybe more people would watch.
Maybe. Why are we so stupid these days?
I don't know about you.
I just mean, why are we so stupid? You know what it made me think of? We might be, and you're going to be like, oh no, we might be in the start of the tribulation.
Oh.
This stuff going on right now makes me think that that's possible. And here's why. It's not necessarily how bad the world's getting, because the world's going to get worse and worse and worse. It just is what it is. It's not necessarily how bad the world's gotten. It's our response to how the world has gotten. In Revelation, it says that God will send strong delusions on them, that they will believe the lie and they will be deceived. And when you talk to what seem like level-headed people, And when you explain to them
Yeah.
that they're making a trans holiday immediately following a trans person going and killing children, they're like, oh, well, I mean, if they'd been aware and if they hadn't been oppressed, they wouldn't have done that. Their responses feel like they are so that they've literally almost had their mind warped. You know what I mean? And it makes me think maybe we are in the start of the tribulation. Maybe it's not a pre-tribulation rapture like I thought. Maybe it's a mid-tribulation rapture. Maybe these are the strong delusions that God's saying, you know what? You've rejected my son, so I'm going to send strong. This is, like he said, the fulfillment of prophecy. Because I can't understand how people think that way.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
How we get so stupid?
I don't know.
I think it's strong delusions, Chandler. This is it. Every podcast we get on from now on is going to be like, is it the end times? 1 week closer, is it the end times? If you like this clip from the Not Gospel Studios channel, don't forget to share. Click on one of the other links and videos. You can find them here, and subscribe. I think it's down here. Tell your friends about us. Tell them that it's healthy, that it's vegan, and all of those things. Keep being awesome, because that's how God made you.